everyone. We have so many young faces. And I just wanted to let you go after we light the Christ candle. And first, I want to introduce our volunteers that we have to work with the younger children. We have Teresa Loss. Teresa, stand up, please. We appreciate you so much. She is a teacher and lover of working with children, and her assistant is Autumn Bloom. Where's Autumn? Autumn is probably making coffee or something. Anyway, so she and Autumn have got the younger kids, while our beloved youth sponsor, Paula DeTrapani, and Grace. Paula might be in the room. Sometimes she goes straight there. So I'll release all of you and acknowledge you for being here and acknowledge our volunteers so that we can have wonderful experiences at your age-appropriate level, okay? So when we sing, praise God that good is everywhere, you guys can get up and go to your classrooms, okay? All right, so we're going to light the Christ candle. And just let me say, why come to church on Sunday when you can see amazing things you see all the time on YouTube? The reason is because when we do it together in a gathering, realizing the divine activity of spirit, it's exponentially expanded, quickening, insight expansion, intensified. And the sharing of it, we are all connected visually, energetically, and heart to heart.
God said, let there be light. There was light. There was light then. There is light now. There is light eternal. The Christ light is carried by each and every one, everywhere, in every situation. It is infinite as our being. It is eternal as our being. This candle is vertical, going between heaven and earth, and that is our soul's journey.
So I had a conversation today in the middle of the street with a former congregant that, and as I drove by, our eyes met and I waved, and then I thought, no, I want to talk to this person. So I drove back around and I rolled down the window and I actually said, I always thought you stopped coming because I wasn't hippie enough for you, but I really am an old hippie. See, I'm hippie. And he goes, well, maybe I'll come back. and I said, well, I'm working on the Father's Day talk. Which would you rather hear? How much we love our fathers or about the divine masculine archetype? He says, I don't know. I said, well, would you rather hear something sort of sentimental or something more abstract and philosophical? Being a professional like you are, because yes, being a professional like I am, and I noticed the expression started to droop and fall and feel sad thinking about fathering. And I realized many of us associate our fathers with woundedness. And that's been the impetus for this new men's movement that has emerged in the 20th century and is still going on. And I want to talk about that today because it's really been so healing. Now, how many of you are familiar with Robert Bly, who wrote what? Iron John, a book about men. And that was the book that started this men's movement, because what Robert Bly, a poet, what he did was he took the Grimm's fairy tale, Iron John, which I didn't know about. How many of you know this fairy tale? I'll just tell it to you a little bit. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing because it's one of those real long ones. It says, and then he went back and he did this, and he went back and it didn't work, and then he went back. No, just to summarize, Iron John was a monster who was being kept in a cage, and he was discovered by the prince who wanted to do something brave and adventurous. And so the king said, well, we have an enchanted forest and everybody who goes in there never comes back. So the prince was able to discover why he found this monster in this cage, and he was covered with red hair. That's why they called him Iron John. I was thinking he was covered with metal. No, he was covered with red hair, called Iron John, and so they solved the mystery. That wasn't the end of that. Then one of the young children of the prince, of the queen and king, lost his golden ball, and it rolled into the cage of the monster. And the little boy said, "Can I have my ball back?" And the monster said, "If you set me free, I'll give it back to you." And so as the little boy grew older and older, he kept asking for his ball back. And finally the monster said, "Yeah, if you set me free, I'll give you your ball back." And now he's a grown man, and he says, "But I don't know where the key is." And the monster says, "It's under your mother's pillow." So now you're getting the symbolism. This is a coming-of-age story of the maturation of the masculine nature of humans. So he has to go and steal the key from under his mother's pillow. Symbolic of stealing, getting divorced from, removing yourself from the attachment that your mothers and fathers have to your identity, and releasing yourself to a new identity of your own making. So he goes and he lets Iron John out of the cage. And then Iron John turns into a wonderful man because he was under a wicked enchantment. And he had to be released by some other masculine entity having the courage to be a new person, an independent identity. So out of that book, Iron John, a book about men, Robert Bly proposed and made the case that our masculinity as a society has been imprisoned. And men have not been free to be real, to be their truly intuitively masculine selves. And why? Because as society evolved into the mechanistic, industrialized civilization, men had to leave home to go to work. And basically, young boys lost their fathers. They had no fathers. And they were trying to be initiated into their adult masculinity with each other. That did not work. And so men started to form these men's support group. And I remember being aware of one, you know the Fountain Street Church in Grand Rapids is very progressive. They had a men's support group. And it was men coming together and supporting each other in coming to terms with being healthy psychologically, being able to, and this was a large part of Robert Bly's work, being able to be a worthy consort for the liberated woman, because women were getting liberated. We're celebrating the goddess, right? But the men were lagging behind and didn't really know how to be with this new kind of feminine behavior and identity and dynamics. So then we come up to, and this is what really got me doing this talk, we come up to the work of Matthew Fox. I've mentioned him before, and I know people's eyes glaze over when I talk about Matthew Fox, maybe a little. So he is a priest who was excommunicated, but went on to have a work where he started the Wisdom University in California and a reformation of many different areas of society, particularly education. His seminal book is called The Coming of the Cosmic Christ, where he says that cosmic consciousness awakening in the souls of people everywhere is the second coming of Christ. Unity has always taught this. This is not new to us. We've always said this. And when I was in ministerial school, Matthew Fox came as a visiting teacher. He spoke in many of the churches in the area. He spoke on Father's Day, 2006, at the Unity of Overland Park. And he spent a week of intensive with ministerial students, which I was one at that time. I got to sit next to him at lunch, and I said, "Matthew, how did you get started on the spiritual path?" He said, when I was in high school, I read War and Peace, and I had a mystical experience from reading it. Yeah. So now, on that day, on Father's Day, June 2006, he spoke on the topic, In Search of the Sacred Masculine, or the Divine Masculine. And he said he was going to write a book about it, and I've been looking for that book all these years, and I never found it. But I looked a little closer this week, because when I was at the face-to-face meeting of Unity Great Lakes Region Board, there was a man on the board there. He's becoming an ordained minister. His name is Tom Sylvester. He's a licensed minister. He's working in the field to become ordained. Very, very special guy. I want him to come here and talk for us too. He said he's doing a Father's Day sermon, and what did he want to do it on? He didn't know. And I told him about Matthew Fox. Turns out he's a big fan of Matthew Fox. So that sort of got me interested in it. I thought, well, I think I'll do it too. So then I found that Matthew Fox has published a book on these ideas that he gave in 2006, and it's called The Hidden Spirituality of Men, 10 Archetypes to Discover the Divine Masculine. I'm not going to do all the 10 archetypes with you today, don't worry. But what he says, there's a very quotable summary. He says, to awaken what Fox calls the sacred masculine, the ancient, he unearths 10 metaphors or archetypes ranging from the green man, an ancient pagan symbol of our fundamental relationship with nature, to the grandfatherly heart, the spiritual warrior. Fox explores archetypes of sacred marriage, showing how partnership becomes the ultimate expression of healthy masculinity. By stirring our natural yearning for healthy spirituality, these timeless archetypes can inspire men to pursue their higher calling, to connect to their deepest selves, and to reinvent the world. So that's the power of the healthy masculinity that is in all of our souls, whether we're men or women. Every soul has a balance of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, and they both need to be healthy and in touch with the intuition. And that is our work, and that is our focus today. The men's movement, discovering the spirituality in men and how to bring out the spirituality in men. Where do you find it? Within the divine intuition, the inner core of our own being holds within it the divine masculine and the divine feminine qualities of being. So, first he talks about the green man, how we need to, the healthy masculinity is protective of Mother Earth. That's the protectiveness coming out, protecting of the Gaia and Mother Earth. And he says, and this, he doesn't say this in his book, but he said this in his talk. He said, first of all, the healthy masculinity is comfortable with homosexuality. He said, every species has homosexuality in it, in the world of nature. And we're the only ones who consider it unacceptable. This is not a quality of healthy masculinity. There's mentorship of grandchildren and youth. And before becoming a soldier, Matthew Fox says he should first become a warrior. That we should not expect men to take life until they have first learned to dance, to celebrate life, to feel the joy of being alive. The healthy masculinity honors the divine feminine, is comfortable with powerful women, is a worthy consort for the goddess expression. The divine fatherly heart lives from a sense of love and compassion and responsibility for the well-being of all, especially the weak, the disenfranchised. And so on this Father's Day, let us resolve to lift up the divine masculine expression, to appreciate the emergence of a new spirituality exalting masculinity, and to praise the blessing of our fathers, sons, our brothers, and men everywhere. Thank you. So this is the time in our service when we enter a time meditation in the silence. So let's take some deep breaths to even out our brain waves, to oxygenate our cells, to relax at every level. Turn within. Behold the light. And remember the truth of who we are. Made in the image and likeness of God. Self-healing, self-cleansing. Allowing the flow of infinite life, renewing and restoring us at every level, healing our emotions, purifying our minds, that we may be in the moment, fully present to the divine. Our statement for meditation is, I am in touch with the inner core of my intuition. And so let's say that together now with intention. Together, I am in touch with the inner core of my intuition. And we embrace that idea now. To behold within us the perfect pattern of the divine. Ready to express, ready to guide, ready to show the way. And in this time, we now rest in the silence of our own souls. And for the beauty within and the beauty without, we praise, we give thanks, and so it is. Amen and amen.